put the agenda up on the screen first. And I just sent the minutes. It's a 1 page. It's really short. We can skip it if we want, if people have to review it, but it's really very basic. I'll put it up on the screen and then get ask committee members to consider approving the minutes. Let me just share my screen. Cliff, you're good, right? We're rolling.
Yep, everything is live, YouTube and the Zoom webinar.
Thanks. So what I need is some committee members to, or the committee members on the screen to take a look at the minutes and see if there's any corrections or additions that they may want to add. And then we just need a first and a second to move them along.
It looks correct.
Yeah.
Scott, you'll make a first.
Approved? Is that what I say?
Yep.
Motion.
Motion to approve. Yes.
Second.
Yep, 2 seconds. Third.
Whatever.
Anyone opposed?
No.
Okay, thanks. We'll take care of that. Let me get rid of that screen and put a different screen up. So the mayor is at another committee meeting. We have the Board of Control for LMC. The mayor is the representative for the Board of Control. I am the administrator for the Board of Control, but I'm running this meeting tonight, so they're working without me. But one item that's a leftover, not necessarily leftover, but a follow-up from the previous, let me see here, let me put it up on the screen, meeting is the letter to the governor that the mayor wrote. So the mayor asked if I could solicit any member comments or anything. If it's good as is, then he'll polish it up. I'll have Robert take a look at it real quick, and then we'll send it over to the governor unless committee members have anything that they want to add or change. I think a few of you have already commented that it looks good or commented.
I didn't see anything that I thought needed to be changed.
Okay.
Agreed.
So I'll let them know that we move it forward.
Yep.
And send it out to the governor's office.
Mary, do you know if the mayor received any feedback from the town or Larchmont? If you're going to send letters?
No, I don't recall. I don't think he said anything about that.
Okay.
So he was going to try to get together with Mayor Walsh and Supervisor Seligson and try to send it out together.
Well, I don't know if he was going to send it out together, but just to get their feedback to see if they were planning on doing the same thing because they kind of started later in the game.
Okay, so the mayor's meeting starts in a few minutes. He may be able to wrap it up and then join us. So I'm going to put that down as a question for him.
Okay.
If not, I'll send an email. Other towns. Okay, we need to work on the survey and we need to discuss subcommittee assignments. So I think we should just jump into the survey so I can finalize that. I have changes. Go ahead.
I looked at the one you just sent, which was the town of Mamaroneck. And I definitely like their formatting with having the layer of questions where you rate it 1 through 5, I think it was. So it asked one question and then it had categories with the 1 to 5. And I think that's much easier to fill out than the way we have ours. And I went through Rye what we did and the town of Mamaroneck. And it's probably wrong, but I almost feel like, can't we just copy the town of Mamaroneck, maybe make a tweak and let it go?
I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Sort of encompassed everything we talked about. It just worded it a little bit differently, but I thought it was very easy to read, very easy to fill out, quick to get through because of the way they layered it. So if everybody else looked at it already, you know, I thought that might be an easy way to get sort of everything we talked about into one place relatively quickly.
I'm in favor of anything, getting this survey out as quickly as possible so I can get it back very early January after the first of the year, so that we can start to take a look at the results and continue to meet. We're meeting again on the 5th and on the 14th. And what we need to do as a committee is decide when the next public forum should be scheduled. We scheduled it on the 6th. I do have open Zooms on the 6th. Cliff, can you send Ms. Saul an invite if you have the email address?
Jerry,
Yeah?
this January the 6th is Three Kings Day in Latin America. So
The Epiphany, right.
yeah,
Right.
so I don't think it's a good day.
Okay, so hold on. Let me look at the village calendar. Let me pop it up. I want to decide on that date if we're going to have a third public forum. Cliff, you need Theodora's email? She's looking for an invite.
Yep, I'm taking care of it right now.
Thank you, sir. Okay, here's the village calendar. We have the 7th, Thursday. So we're on the 5th right here where my cursor is. And then if I can get rid of this pop-up, we're on the 14th right here. So I do have an open Zoom account where we can utilize the 7th as our third and final public forum, if that works for the committee. Considering that the 6th is a religious and a Latin American holiday.
Can I ask a question? When are we going to get the survey back?
I have it right now, Jared, as the 4th. But
How long do you think it's going to take to get some information from that survey?
Well, I think as soon as I have the results, it'll be SurveyMonkey results. So what'll end up happening is there'll be a report that I'll just distribute right away.
Okay.
I'll
Cool.
distribute it that night.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, and then
Thank
the
you.
forms that we get, I will just add to that data, the data that we get, the questions.
Sounds good.
Okay. So is the 7th good? I'll schedule it for the 7th at 7 p.m.
7's good.
Me. Jerry, is it possible that you can bring up the town of Mamaroneck survey questions on your screen,
Yeah. Bring up their survey? Sure. Let
please?
me stop this one. And
When
pull
did
up-
that happen? I didn't get it, I don't think.
It was
It's a
just
link,
this
John.
afternoon.
I sent the link. Hi, Janet.
Hi, Jerry. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm joining a few
It's
minutes
okay.
late.
We just started. Okay, Chief, this is it. Dear resident, currently the focus of New York State and the entire country, right? Local police. So at the town, what they did was they created a task force on racial equality. We created something a little bit different, a little bit more in tune with the executive order and the guidelines. But this is their first question. Do you live in the unincorporated town of Mamaroneck? And then this is what, Sharon, this is what you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Accurate scale, 1 to 5?
Yeah, I think just the way it's put together under question 2 helps you from looking like you have, 25 questions because it's all condensed, and it touches on a bunch of different things without us having a whole lot of different questions. So I liked the way they laid it out, and just for efficiency, because we're on our second day and we already took 3 hours the first day. I thought if we wanted to tweak this, we could. But it would be faster to tweak this than I think to try to look at all these surveys and compare to what we were doing. And we're kind of creating the wheel. We shouldn't have to when everybody else is already doing the same thing as we are.
Okay, that's fine. So there's seven, I guess what they call statements, 7 statements here. And there's a text box down here. Please use the space below to share more about your responses and overall opinions of Town of Merrimack Police Department.
Which also keeps us from having a text box for every single question that we're doing. We just have the one that they can expand on SurveyMonkey or whatever we use. And on a piece of paper, they could always just add a piece of paper if they really have a whole story to tell.
This one here. So this one has a text box. This one has this is a yes, no, and then if no text box, which is what we were doing.
Right.
Yep.
But I think that top question number 2 kind of broke things out in a way that made a little more sense, like where we were trying to go, but that's what I saw. I don't know if everybody agrees with that.
Well, I agree. If you look at 4 and 5, it talks about being treated fairly and respectfully. And then the second one after that talks about threatening or intimidating treatment. So I think we were covering both of those in our survey as well.
Yeah.
Personally witnessed or witnessed inappropriate, right?
It's very similar, but it's already done. And it's also very consistent in the way it's written. With the very much somewhat a little, everything's exactly the same, and they already did the work. So I definitely don't believe in creating work where you don't have to.
Yeah. Do you think a formal complaint filed against Town of Merrimack will be taken seriously or transparently investigated? How much do you feel the diversity within the Town of Merrimack Police Department reflects the diversity in the community? It's a good question.
Yeah.
And then I had also asked for demographics in one of the emails I sent you, so we can also do a comparison, because someone might perceive that it's not diverse enough, but we may end up looking at the numbers and realizing it's not too far off from representing, or it might be very off. We don't know. So I had asked, and I don't have those yet. So I don't know if I can look them up or if I have to wait for you.
Question.
I wanted to talk about that while we're in session.
Okay.
So we can talk about obtaining, and that would be a job that we would ask Chief DeRuza and Danielle Gilliard to do for us.
Okay.
We went through this quickly. Do they have a question about the ethnic or racial identification of the respondent?
I think towards the bottom, maybe. We have
I'll
to
scroll
get
down to that. So Danielle,
About 11, I haven't seen it, because that question is important, because we can correlate it with differences of answers.
Agreed. I might be wrong, but I think it's further down.
Okay.
There's more down. It gets.
Let's work.
Just talk about yourself, but
Okay, we hadn't gotten there. I'm sorry.
No worries.
These are demo questions. Sam.
Right, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So the demo questions are very similar to ours. Your group, race, ethnicity, gender, how many years you lived in Mamaroneck, do you have children, what are their ages, those kinds of things.
There's no economic level. Did we have an economic level in the other survey?
We did not.
No, we didn't.
No. We didn't have, John, in the demos. We basically used the demo questions that you had provided us. We just polished them up.
That doesn't mean I didn't think of other things afterwards.
Yeah, I know.
Don't we all?
So it's up to the committee. I'm willing to do, whatever. I can use this format and just, if there's a few interested committee members who want to get together in the next few days and look at this survey and then put our survey in this format to the best of your ability. Our questions are already there.
Yeah, I'm happy to do
Yeah.
that.
If you want
I'd be interested in looking
I
at
will be interested too.
Okay, Elsa,
Yes.
John,
and Sharon.
and Shannon.
Shannon.
And Jerry, the first question where it says, do you live in the village of Mamaroneck, or I would include the zip code there.
Aren't we? Isn't Mamaroneck one zip code?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Town of Mamaroneck is,
that's
No,
why
Town of
they-
Mamaroneck split between the village of Larchmont and the,
yeah, so it's two
Right.
zip codes, but this is, so what I think Mr. Altieri is trying to do here is trying to make sure that he's capturing unincorporated town people as opposed to village who think
Right.
they live in the town,
Right.
and Larchmont who think they live in the town of Mamaroneck.
yeah, there's a lot of people who don't
Yeah.
understand the delineation, rightfully so, because it's very confusing.
But we could put,
So Elsa, this would just be, do you live in the village of Mamaroneck? And we just leave it at that.
okay, but I have a problem with the translation there. Because the village of Mamaroneck can be translated as many things, you know. La
Yeah.
aldea de Mamaroneck, el pueblo de Mamaroneck.
I know.
okay, so you want to say in the village of Mamaroneck zip code 10543.
Yes,
That way,
Oh,
it's more specific
Right.
translation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That works. You can do that. So Elsa, you please feel free and comfortable doing that in the translation. No problem. There's no problem with that. Yeah, that's,
But aren't there parts of the town that are also 10543? Like up by the like Wingfoot area and stuff? I believe if you go
They
on the
won't.
right side of Fenimore is 10543, but that's not the village. And on the left side is 10538.
What about this, or do we have a different school district? Or is it all the same?
I think
Two-
it's the same.
I think Village of Mamaroneck's on Mamaroneck Avenue, actually.
What is
Well,
your,
it could be Rhinebeck too, though. It could be the
All right.
Rhinebeck.
Rhinebeck,
School
yes.
District.
I've always translated it as the Villa.
That's a
because
little
I don't
translation.
like Pueblo is too broad because people will see the town in that. Aldea is.
right. So if I can stop everyone, this is a discussion for the subcommittee,
Right, right,
Yeah.
correct.
not the big committee to have, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to-
Jerry, just one question. Remember,
Yeah.
our first question was it didn't matter if you lived here or not.
let me put it up.
Mhm.
The
Let me
town
put it
has
up.
that. The town has, do you live in the unincorporated of town? But our
So-
first question didn't matter if you lived here or passed through here.
I don't think we asked anyone if they lived. So here, look at.
Yeah,
We
look at
just-
our first
we did
question.
the demographics. We had it.
Have you
at-
ever called the VMPD? And then
Oh,
that was our.
Well, remember, did we change the order? Because at some point, we had talked about if someone lived here or worked here or passed through here.
In the demographics on the screen, you can see, are you a resident of the village of Mamaroneck? And it was going to be a yes or a no.
So
so-
we could just take this out. I mean, that's a.
We didn't care.
We can fix that.
Yeah, we didn't care. That's what I'm saying. Is so
We didn't
by
care.
adding "Do you live here" in the 10543, then it's just gonna it's gonna say no. I don't know what this click here to confirm. Do you see it? So does it require you to put in an address? So I mean, it would simplify just saying, "Have you blank in the village?" If you
That's
look
what
up-
comes up. Look, that's
Yeah.
what,
So what are you supposed to do? Oh, check and see, and then you say yes.
I know. I
And if you say no, what happens if you say no? I'm just
Right.
curious.
it,
You can't fill out the survey.
yeah, let me go
No,
back and
Because, yeah, like, that's all I was saying is that otherwise it's just, if you had interaction, it could be a positive interaction, but you're not going to get that if you can't click yes.
all right, so if I click no,
No, it's just a question.
Just no, there you go. So, okay, cool.
what's
There
the
you go.
difference?
So-
Right.
That's it. That's simple.
So if we've already had the 3-hour meeting, we have the RAI survey, we have what we started, and we have this, the group is okay with letting the subcommittee just finalize it?
I think so. My opinion, we got to get it
That way
out.
we could keep moving?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have, so this is the bones, Sharon, of basically the questions that everyone,
Yeah.
Theodora's experience, has your child experience question, which I'm trying to get her on. I don't know, Cliff, were we able to get her a sign in?
I'm sending it to her now.
And Jerry, can you please add my name to that subcommittee?
Yes, I will, sure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I did send the meeting info.
Okay. And Elsa and Janet and John, I rely on you guys to, not to say that Sharon doesn't speak or translate Spanish, but you guys will take care of that?
Yeah, we can assist Elsa
Okay.
for sure.
I already translated everything. I
Okay.
have everything translated. The rough draft that we were sent is just to, adjust it to this one.
Okay, so this is their Spanish version.
Oh, they have a Spanish version.
They have a Spanish version already.
Okay. That makes it easier.
Yeah. So it just,
Okay.
it's already there.
If
Already
it's well done, it makes it easier.
Right. So
John.
Yeah, that's a discussion for the
With all respect,
Terrible.
to Mr. Marinak, I remember the translation they threw out of the ordinance in
Oh, please don't.
2006.
Hi, Tia.
Hi,
Hi, Tia.
everyone. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Tia.
Janet,
Hi,
John is your
everyone.
friend. He's your friend. You got to deal with it.
Of course.
So I'm sorry, obviously I missed the entire thing. I don't think I actually got a link. And when we do the
So-
investigation as to how come I didn't get a link, we're going to find out who deleted my address from Sally's outgoing email.
There won't be much of an investigation. So look, I'm sorry about that, but I don't handle that part. What I want to tell you is that
your emails got bounced back when I tried to forward you the invite. So I got rejections when I sent it to you.
Really? And I would never reject you,
Actually,
Sharon.
I got the same thing, and I thought it was my outbox, Theodora. I tried to send it twice, and I thought maybe
Is
I
there a
did have a
typo?
service
We can
issue.
discuss it later. There might be a typo in
Yeah.
it. That's weird because I reject nothing.
Ah, that
So
might.
Theodore, we have a subcommittee formed. It's Elsa, John, Sharon, and Janet to finalize the survey for the village. And the committee has been discussing following and using the format that the town of Mamaroneck has. This is the Spanish version of that survey. This is the English version of that survey, which I provided the link earlier on. And so it's taking the information that we have on our survey that we worked on as a group and using the bones of this survey to create a survey similar to the towns. But then I just discussed having you add that question or two that you wanted to add regarding children's experiences with PD.
Yeah.
So if you want to add yourself to this committee, that would be fine. And then you could meet as a committee and then provide to me by Friday at some point the finished product, and then we'll get it into our SurveyMonkey account if you want to do that.
Jerry, there are 3 committees?
Yeah, I need 3 committees, but this is the first one, Sharon.
Okay.
Okay, so what are the other committees?
The other committees, I'll pull it up. The other committees are here. It's the draft plan subcommittee.
Okay.
We can have some kind of a draft that we present to the Board of Trustees. And then this is letter C. This is more of an ongoing committee. This is the Police Reform and Reinvention Committee webpage, the content of the webpage. So I need a committee on that to be able to take a look at what we have there currently, make suggestions on what we want to add, what we want to look for as far as other information, maybe some peer-reviewed information, things of that nature. So I need those 3 committees set up this evening so I can delegate.
And Jerry, is that just the resident members? The 10 of us?
No, it would be any member.
Okay.
It would be anywhere. So I could bounce in, the mayor could bounce into this. I would ask the chief or detective sergeant or the sergeant if they wanted to jump on any of these committees since they are designated committee members.
I mean, I would have no problem, being on all 3 if I needed to be, just to provide feedback and comments and things like that, for sure.
Okay. So then, who would have some interest in the draft plan subcommittee? I have to be on that because it's the manager who's going to present to the Board of Trustees.
I would.
I would.
Doing that too.
Okay, call your name out because I can't.
Theo,
Garrett.
Theo, Jared, Sharon,
Janet.
Brian Williams.
Lauren.
Janet.
Oh, that's a big committee.
I mean, that's the crux of what we're doing. So it's kind of strange to have a subcommittee unless we've
Yeah.
really hammered out the issues and the subcommittee just kind of hammers out how it's laid out.
The semantics.
And that's what I'm looking for. So
Yeah.
I think the members of our committee, Theo, are looking or know in a way, but we can use other meetings. We still have 2 meetings in January to be able to discuss, once we get past this survey issue, to be able to discuss the actual points and content of the draft plan. And then let her see the web page content committee. That's an ongoing subcommittee. So I have Jarrett, Theodora.
I can only be on it once.
Janet, Lauren.
It's okay. I trust that if there were too many people.
Brian
that's
asked to
fine.
be on it.
Ryan, okay.
Is this committee to take what we've all agreed to and put it in the final review to send?
Yeah, it's the final recommendations from the committee to the Board of Trustees. That's what this committee would be charged with.
Okay. I'll go on there as well, I guess.
And Scott.
You can remove me. I'm spread too thin, isn't it? It's fine. God.
Aye.
Well, I need
Can't say no.
someone who's trained in writing. You're definitely trained in writing. So it'll be good, right? Are lawyers trained in?
Yes.
Yeah. See? So, right.
But Theodora is a lawyer, so she's got
Yeah,
that.
but Lauren, you have a good touch. Stay on it. We need.
Okay.
We need
All
all
right.
the
All
voices.
right.
Come on.
See, Lauren, that's where you
Do
get
I
for being
cookies?
studious.
You get to bring cookies.
Okay.
Okay. And
Virtual.
then who's interested after the recommendations are presented to the Board of Trustees? Who would like to be assist us? You don't have to. I mean, we can try to handle this ourselves, but if there's a group of members that want to continue to improve on the webpage, I'm going to put the chief on there.
Mike Anderson.
Okay, Mike, thank you.
Danielle.
Okay. So survey subcommittee, if I missed you, just add your name at the end. Survey subcommittee is Elsa, John, Sharon, Janet. Am I adding anyone?
Depends on how much talking we're going to do in the next 10 minutes about it.
Well, I'm not going to.
I don't want to be on it, but I'm not. I think we're not done.
Okay.
Yeah, but Theodora, do you trust the other 4 of us to take what we did and put it into a final survey?
If you read the email that I sent after our last meeting,
Yeah, you want to add something?
there's obviously a couple of things that I think that need to be added, and I think that there's a substantive discussion that needs to happen, as we decide what to add.
Okay, so let's do that here tonight.
Okay, so I think that our survey should, one, and I've said this multiple times, make an effort to reach young people and understand how their interfaces with police, just understand about their interfaces with the police, negative and positive, whether it's Officer Yeager or Maresca, officers in the schools who are resources for them or outside, whatever their interface is. I think that we should have an understanding of what that is, and we need to brainstorm as to ways to access that, because most kids are not going, and when I say kids, I mean 15 to 20 years old, are not going to fill out our survey. They're not going to interact with our survey, and they do not use Facebook.
I know that Dr. Ferraro and Dr. Shaps were both more than willing to help facilitate having students in the high school as part of one of their community groups to fill out the survey. So I think that we could definitely use both of them as a resource.
Okay, I have not heard back from them or Debbie Mineta as to whether they would be even willing to include the existence of this committee and the survey in their daily or weekly Tiger Bites at the high school.
Okay, I can reach out to them. That's fine.
That would be great. And see
Sure.
if they would include that, and maybe with a link to the survey.
Sure.
I think so, and that may be remiss in doing this, but I think I have an email from Dr. Ferraro about connecting us, this committee, with the juniors and seniors at Rhinebeck, however many there are, 20 or 30, whatever there are. 90. I don't know how many graduating are there.
Yes, she did seem open.
So they get the
So
exact
is it separate? Can I ask if Theodora's, are you thinking of a separate, shorter, more focused survey for them?
No, you're thinking of that. You just thought of it. What a great idea.
Right. Well, I'm not going to do it though.
I thought you were thinking of it, Theo.
Yeah, that's what I thought we talked about last week.
I mean, I think it had come up. I hadn't, in any intensive way conceived of it. They can answer this. They take SATs and stuff. This is,
I think we don't reinvent. I think we just let them complete this one.
I think that's right. We don't need to make work for ourselves. They're very smart. If they have something to say, say it.
Perfect.
And it's just a question of, can we get it, disseminated?
We'll get it to them.
Okay, that's great. And then a second question I had, and if you read my email, you will remember that I wanted to be very careful that we understood that our questions in the survey, that our responses from the survey do not necessarily dictate the recommendations that we make. They are informational for us to understand how the community perceives the police, but that our recommendations to the board and ultimately for the governor come from the collective knowledge, information we gather and exchange among us, rather than some sort of bean counting survey box determination. So that would be one thing.
Right. So I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt. So I think, right, we were going to use the survey basically as a guideline to gauge what people's reactions, perceptions, experiences were. And then we could use that as part of our plan that we submit to the governor. That was my understanding.
I think we have to be careful of one intermediate thing as well. The survey will only tell us what the town or the village thinks if we succeed in getting a diverse and fairly extensive sample of respondents. If it's like last week's open town meeting, where there's a huge consensus of opinions expressed, the survey won't be very helpful. We need to make sure we tackle that in some way.
I think with the help of Janet, with the CRC and handing the information out at the food distribution, I think we'll be able to get, the word out.
I think we need to sit and talk on the subcommittee, make sure we do that, because there may be problems in getting people, even who are aware it's going on, to answer. They may believe it's risky.
That's why the letter of the survey cannot control us, and we're going to have to rely on some of those of us who have inroads, particularly into the minority community, to have conversations and to try to get anecdotal evidence. I have inadvertently collected quite a bit of anecdotal evidence that has simply arrived literally at my front door, in my inbox, in my phone, which I don't know how my number gets out, but people just keep wanting to send me stuff. So there are people out there who do want to communicate. Whether we reach them with the survey or not, I don't know. It's, as the chief says, it's our best effort to try to understand the community's perception, but it's not going probably to be, unfortunately, a complete picture, right?
And we just have to be aware of that and make the public who see it aware of that.
Right, but then we make our own grown-up decisions afterwards, with where we feel that there's a paucity of information from certain quadrants.
I think that's what we are doing. I mean, we're having conversations about everything, and we will wait to see what the survey says, because if it is extremely reflective and if it is successful, it will guide us a little more, and if it's not, it won't. But we don't know the answer yet.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think we all agree it's a communal conversation. I don't think there was a question about that.
I mean, if you looked at the information we got from the New Rochelle committee, they walked into City Hall and everything was dead on arrival for two reasons. Well, multiple reasons, but one of the biggest reasons was the village or the city was already trying to do that. Okay, so the survey is one thing, and then we're talking about what we think needs to happen that's different besides the survey. Surveys are feelings, right? And then you're going to get your most fervent people to check those boxes. But at the same time, we have to look at what the chief sent us, because there's a lot of things that she says that they're doing are about to do. So we can't get bogged down on saying, okay, we want them to have more training on their taser gun. And she's saying, look, we're going to do that anyway. It's the things that we think that in collective, not just the Village of Mamaroneck, the collective, what we think that issues are, where do we think they feel or fall short. She's already told us a lot of things. So, I mean, we're almost there. I think the survey the town put out is perfect. I mean, you put the Village of Mamaroneck on it, I'd send it out tonight. It asks the questions about race, gender, ethnicity. The only thing it doesn't ask us about is how much money you make. We've decided that the schools, they said they're going to help us out with this. We have the food pantry. We need to really get this survey out so we can move on to talk about things that of all this information. I mean, we've been getting a lot of stuff to read, and I hope people have been reading it, because literally to be this low on a survey is ridiculous. I'm sorry. I just think it's ridiculous, because we know what the questions we want to ask. I mean, everybody here has time. I'm not saying you're wasting my time. I'm enjoying this process. But I mean, what else do we know? That's what I'm saying. Theodore,
I want to know.
I want to know if the Village of Mamaroneck is prosecuting Black and brown people more than others. I want to know that. I want to know if the people feel that in the future they're going to be prosecuted more because they're Black or brown. I want to know that. I want to know if they feel comfortable making complaints. I think everybody here wants to know that. And I think that what I'm saying is that let's get this survey knocked out, and then let's get on to the brass tacks. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to cut you off, Theo. You say what you got to say. I'm just saying is I think the survey aspect is put to bed now. We've had maybe 10, 15 surveys we looked at. I mean, that's all. We don't have that many drastic problems in the Village of Mamaroneck to say, listen, these surveys, we're not getting the questions. We know what the questions are. Now it's up to us to ask them and let it go. And I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, Theo. You go.
I was cutting you off. Please don't be sorry, Jared. I always want to hear your voice. I always do.
No, I mean, that's all I'm saying is I just think that we could beat it to a dead horse tonight.
Yeah, but it's not, I don't think we're there yet. And I mean, you can definitely argue with me, and I don't intend to beat it indefinitely, but I did raise a couple of other issues, and I raised them again. And I know the chief knows I'm going to raise them. And I know that my and I have to say rudimentary understanding, zero understanding about how this works internally is that police disciplinary records and procedures are going to be in issue, and we are going to have to discuss it. And I know that the PBA takes it upon themselves to control all issues regarding discipline and disciplinary records. But the governor said, thank you to Mr. Daniel Pantaleo, we get to see those records. Now, one possibility is that we have to do it via FOIL. But another possibility is that our committee can simply ask the people who are literally, I'm looking at them, we would like these records. And we could take a vote and say, I want to see these records.
Well, can I just say, Jerry, just Jerry, Theo, I agree. I just don't know why that and the survey have anything to do with each other.
Well, because
I think that if we knock this survey question done, then we can talk. We've already talked about, was that rule 15B or 5B?
58.
58. We talked about that. So
we did talk about it.
We can talk about, as a committee, do we think that that the Village of Mamaroneck should make those records public on demand for anybody? We can talk about that.
So
I just don't know why we're that.
But you can make that recommendation to the Board of Trustees.
Yes, not to the survey. That's all I'm saying is.
Right, but you can't make that request of me. You can make that request of the Board of Trustees as one of the recommendations that comes out of the committee. And the Board of Trustees happens to be when they vote to go into and become Board of Police Commissioners. We have a Board of Police Commissioners that's also the Board of Trustees when they decide to become the Board of Police Commissioners. So
and do they have a scheduled meeting coming up?
No, they become the Board of Police Commissioners whenever they want to become the Board of Police Commissioners. But what they can do is they can take and consider and review the recommendations that comes out of this board. I'm sorry, the committee. This is an ad hoc committee put together because the way the governor wrote it. I ended up putting the committee together because I'm the chief executive of in our form of government of the village. But the board, this committee will take recommendations from, this committee will send recommendations to the Board of Trustees, and the Board of Trustees will consider it. And if they want to discuss and approve that recommendation, it's up to them. It's not up to us, and it's not up to me, and it's not up to the chief. And I think Mr. Spalzino can clarify that. That's not our role here. Our role is, the role of the committee is to provide recommendations to the Board of Trustees of what the committee members would like them to see or do.
Okay, so let's step back for a second. Jared, what you're saying is that you feel that the purpose of the survey is exclusively to gather past experiences with the police from people who either live here or had experience with the Village of Mamaroneck Police, and not to glean from those people their attitudes in general to what the police department is, what it should become, how it should be managed. Is that
Well,
what
I think those questions, yes. We want to know their past experience, and in those questions, what would you like to see the police department do better? So yeah, I think you're right. I'd like to see what the history that people have perceived of them, and also in there, or what would you do to make it better? By the question saying, how strongly are you satisfied? 5 to 1. That's going to give you your information. I think any type of what you want to do. You want to see the policeman's officers' Bill of Rights rescinded? That's not something for a survey that for us to handle what people feel here, because we can personally feel different than what we're asked to consider, and we won't know what we're asked to, what we're going to have until we put a survey out. I mean, we're not asking. Honestly, remember, we're not even asking should defund the police be part of a survey. We want to know what the Village of Mamaroneck residents and people pass through here think of their police. Nothing political, just what do you think of your police?
I want to know whether people feel, and if I don't find out, that's fine, because I know what I think. I think it would be useful for us to find out whether people feel there should be civilian oversight over police discipline.
Okay, that's probably a fair question. That's probably a fair question, but that's something that could be one of our recommendations, because again, we can get numbers where 95% of the people say no, but we're supposed to be looking at all this information and then we're making a recommendation. Right. I mean, this is a representative government we live in here, right? So they're being represented. Right or wrong, we'll know. But that's the survey is to prove one thing, our recommendations down the road or another. So let's get this survey out, and then we can start on making recommendations.
I agree.
Okay, so do you guys think we should have a question in the survey as to whether there should be civilian involvement in the complaint process about police officers or civilian oversight of the disciplinary process?
No.
I don't think that's necessary.
I don't think it's necessary in the survey. I think that's for us to decide after we look at the survey results and have further conversations and finish the lengthy reading that we have available to us.
Chief, what do you think?
We also have the program on tomorrow afternoon. What is being done in New York, looking at various models of civilian oversight. We take those into account and then we make a recommendation.
And I agree with what Jared had to say. I think he's on point. I think, we use the survey as the starting point and we go from there.
I agree.
Could you explain to us who sets the parameters for how the disciplinary procedures, disciplinary complaints are handled, and and that's right, and how discipline is handled? What we heard from your predecessor is, I believe, if I was paying attention that night, that there were 7 complaints last year, none of which was founded.
So I believe we had a total of 2 civilian complaints in 2019 2 civilian complaints in 2020, one of which was founded. So basically what happens is we have the policy put on the website. If someone wants to make a complaint, they can do that via telephone, they can do it in person, they can do it anonymously. It comes in and then it usually goes either to one of the lieutenants, or now one lieutenant, or to the detective sergeant to go ahead and do an investigation. They complete the investigation, they come up with their findings, they submit it to the chief of police, and then based on what the determination was, there could be disciplinary actions or command discipline involved, depending on if it was substantiated, founded, things of that nature.
Okay, is it your opinion that in 2020, only one of your officers in one instance behaved either inappropriately or did an act of misconduct or was substandard in some way?
So that's the information that we received. We have a very good department here. We're a 51, now we're 50 because we're down one, but it's a diverse department. We work very well together. We're well trained. We're not a huge city. We're not even a city of like New Rochelle or Mount Vernon that would receive the amount of complaints that a city would receive. I'm happy to say that we just completed going through our procedural justice training for the department, our first segment of 3. It was very well received. A lot of things that came out of the training was a lot of the things that came up in the training that we are already doing. And there was a lot of positive interaction with the officers, and we're going to start documenting positive encounters with the community. Yeah, I mean, I do believe that the information that we have is accurate, but I think that it's important, like when we put the policies on the website, that people are aware, hey, you know what, maybe I didn't know that I could file a complaint over the phone. Maybe now I will if something comes up. So I think having that information, being transparent was important. So I'm glad that that came out, that we have to put our information online.
Okay, do we have the breakdown, ethnicity, gender, race of the department somewhere?
So yes, so I could tell you, right now we're a 50-person department. We have one officer who's Black African-American. We have 10 officers who are white Hispanic. The remainder would be considered white Caucasian, and we have 5 female officers.
They're actual active duty officers?
We have a couple that are on line of duty injury, so they're not currently working, but we do have a total, like I said, 50 total officers, 5 of which are female.
Okay. All right, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So nothing.
So are we okay to move forward with the committee as is, and we will finalize the survey and get it out by Friday?
Yes.
Are we?
Yes.
Is there like a
I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm good, and if you need any kind of resource or want to bounce something off of myself, then we can do that too. Sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Chief, would you have a problem if there were a civilian complaint process, if complaints about the police went through a civilian process initially?
So I don't think it's necessary unless it's something that's egregious, where the Board of Trustees sits as the Board of Commissioners, which they have done in the past.
Yeah.
I think, complaints that are, behavioral type things, violations of policy, stuff like that, I think need to be handled within the department.
And of those, you received 2 last year, and of those 50% were founded.
Yes, correct.
Okay. I want to interrupt for a second. I feel just as strongly as Theodora does to some extent about at least understanding this process and being transparent and all, but on our agenda, we still haven't finished our committees. So can we backtrack and finish our committees first before we get into new topics?
Yeah. So if you want to, let me summarize what I have.
Okay.
Survey committee is Elsa, John, Sharon, and Janet. The draft recommendations, the draft recommendation, I have Jarrett, Theodora, Janet, Lauren, Brian,
And Sharon.
and Scott. Who am I missing on that?
Me, Sharon.
Okay, Sharon.
Although there may end up being too many of us. And
then the webpage is, I volunteered the chief, I volunteered myself, and then Mike Anderson and Danielle volunteered for the webpage content.
I will volunteer for the web page content.
Okay, Elsa.
Thank you.
Because there will be from time to time, maybe items that we want to maybe provide or add in Spanish, and that would be very helpful. I can do some of it, but I know you're much, much better than I am at it.
I don't know about that.
Si puede.
Karen, is that good? That wrapped up? Okay, good. So let's.
Since we have to get this to you by Friday, may I ask to the three others on the survey committee, I'm free tomorrow from 10 till noon and from 2 till 5 and after 7:30 at night. Send me emails with a couple of times that you're free and I'll try to arrange it as quickly as I can.
all right, I'll tell you right now, I can only do evenings because I work full time during the day, and I don't have any slots that are more than maybe a half hour during the day at a time. So it'd have to be at night.
So 7:30 would work?
Yes.
Janet?
Yeah, 7:30, it's okay.
Elsa?
7:30 is fine. Tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow night at 7:30. Who
That is the fastest decision we've ever made.
Aren't you glad I brought it up right now?
Yes.
Who's going to set up the Zoom link for us?
We don't have to go to 7:15 if we don't need to. I think
If you want, I have a go-to meeting. I don't have Zoom, but I can send that out to you guys unless much has it.
I have a Zoom account. I can
All right.
create a meeting.
All right. So Janet's volunteering.
Wonderful.
And then if another committee is looking for a Zoom account, we can try to find one. We use a lot of them here multiple times, especially during the evenings.
I
So,
also have access to Microsoft Teams.
but we can try to help out with that. Unless we have other items that we need to talk about, we've pretty much completed the agenda and some of the questions.
Hey,
or
I do actually.
I did want to bring up, sorry, go ahead.
good, Lauren.
Okay, I did want to bring up, based off of what we said, for the we were all listening in on that meeting, or most of us were. I do think it may be helpful to release at least a little bit of information about the committee members, obviously as provided by the committee members and whatever they're comfortable with, just because there did seem to be a lot of question as to who's on the committee and why, and maybe just like 2 or 3 bullet points per person to just kind of, I don't know that it will do anything, but at least in the interest of transparency, I think that may be helpful.
So,
Is that done with other committees?
no, it's not. What we do, Lauren, is we do list their names.
Oh, you do? I didn't
Board of
see the names
Trustees.
listed. I must have missed that. Okay.
Yes, so the names are listed of the,
Okay, that's helpful.
yeah, and of the committee members. But try to understand that there's an aspect to these kinds of things that if someone doesn't like the conversation or the direction, they'll try to change that direction. But I think that this is a very productive, and in fact, today I sent out an email that I'm canceling January, February, and March meetings for non-land use meetings. Ours is a mandate from the governor, so I'm not canceling that one. But every other committee is canceled because I have to make some adjustments in staffing and I have to make some prioritization in the budget. So, so this committee will continue, but many other committees will not for the 3 months starting the beginning of next year. But as far as the public forum, it's no surprise to anyone everyone's really smart on this committee that, sometimes those kinds of opportunities are just what people are waiting for to try to change the conversation. Let's put it that way. So
I apologize if there was discussion about the public forum. I was out chasing a elusive reported brush fire.
Okay.
So I didn't catch any of that. I don't know what anybody talked about.
Well, there's been some comments, Brian, going back and forth about the public forum. So the structure that I decided to adopt was really very similar to the counties, except the county has registration. They ask for people to register so that they can be called upon during their public forum. I don't have that. Anyone can just raise their hand and I'll pick them. I tried my best, and I think Cliff really helped out and did an excellent job to try to present some of the recommendations from this committee, such as put the page and the instructions on the front page or the main page. Try to use whatever tactics we can or techniques we can to keep people as anonymous as possible, which I thought was important, and I appreciate that recommendation. We've done as much as we could, but if some committee members feel like other groups hijacked the public forum, it's a public forum. This is the environment that people can say whatever they want to say, provided I give them 3 minutes to say it. So, and I was cutting people off, and I 2 times, which is really 6 minutes. So I was, I'm not a generous guy when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, and I don't know if I put anyone on 3 times, but I tried to maintain that as much as I could. But next time on the 7th, I think it is, I'm only going to allow people to talk once. Why bother? Why let them just keep talking and talking and talking to try to monopolize? I don't care where their kids go to school. It doesn't matter to me where their kids go to school, but that's what I was getting. So,
Jerry, and I think I told you that I think Cliff did a great job with setting it up the way it had the time clock on the front screen.
Yeah.
You couldn't see anybody's names. So I thought it worked really well.
Yeah, it was much better.
And it was impartial in that way.
And that was a big improvement for the first time. It was a big improvement for the first time. The instructions were a big improvement. We made a lot of improvements. I don't think we have to make too many other improvements.
No.
Final public forum. But in that public forum, as everyone knows, there will be opinions and a direction that,
If I could just make one suggestion for ground rules going forward on the next one, I have no problem with people speaking twice. Sometimes hearing someone else's perspective gives you additional thought, but I would just limit it to you can't speak twice.
You can't what?
Can't what?
Can't what?
You can't speak twice consecutively.
Oh. No, but that's what he did, I think. You let him speak twice, but not twice in a row.
It wasn't consecutive, Brian, but it was they kept raising their hand, and once I get annoyed, then I don't get unannoyed. So, right? So that's my problem.
I'm learning so much about Jerry tonight.
Yeah. All you have to do, Sharon, is talk to my staff, and they'll tell you everything about me. Trust me, they're very open.
Feeling very confessional tonight, though.
Right?
But I think either once or we could discuss the possibility of a chat, but otherwise 1 and done, 3 minutes. If you can't say what you have to say in 3 minutes, then done. And if somebody else stimulates something in you, then they can send it in, to the website or something. I thought it was so angry in some ways, and it was so hostile. And people who wrote to me said, I wrote to you guys, I don't have to tell you again, people were appalled, shocked. And I was like, I'm really not that shocked. But to the point where if I wanted to follow through and foil police disciplinary records, which is my right, I would have to put my name on it, and I don't feel safe.
So I want to follow up on that with a slightly different take. I've been here over a decade. Because of where I live, I'm in a cooperative. I've had more than the average interactions, not because of me necessarily, but because of things going on around here.
Sure.
I am one of the people who said I don't think I can think of one time in over a decade where I've had a negative interaction with our police. And there have been times where I'll say that the police have gone above and beyond professional or beyond civil to even being kind to people. And so I've come into this with a very positive but neutral, if that makes sense, approach. I want to follow the mandate, but I don't have personal negative experiences. Mm-hmm. Chief, I was shocked. It was only a few people, so it wasn't like everybody. It was like maybe.
I think that's important to point out. It
was maybe 5 or 10% of your total department, if I could isolate them. But we've only met a couple times. we haven't made any recommendations. We haven't done anything that could be taken negatively by the police department, in my opinion, yet. I think we all came in here with good intentions, and we're having conversations and we're trying to figure out what to do. And I was shocked by just 2 or 3 people who were so angry and attacking over, we haven't done anything yet.
But why is that representation of the chief's police department?
I think they were police who made those particular comments based on what they said.
No, there was one retired.
Okay, may I finish?
Officer who,
May I finish?
Ryan.
Let me finish. So I was just surprised by that, and it made me kind of think for a moment. And one of the thoughts I had was, it felt like they don't know what we're doing, and yet there are police in the room right now. And on the roster, or whatever you want to call it, it says there will be subject matter experts as needed. And so I don't know how to approach this, but I feel like, for transparency's sake for the police, so that they don't feel like we're this group that's just gathering to attack them, they understand that it's a mandate and we're being open and honest and transparent. Like, is there some involvement that can include some conversation with the police officers? Because we are asking the general public, and we are doing an open forum, and we're talking to each other. At what point can we have some more conversations with the police to sort of open that up? I don't know if that made sense the way I said it.
No, it certainly did. And, we can't control, who calls and who doesn't call, and what their agenda is and things of that nature. I have been keeping the officers in the department up to date with, the committee and the mandates and what has been going on. But also looking, sometimes it helps look from a little bit of an officer's perspective who, he or she feels like they're doing a good job. And then these tragic events happened over the last couple of months that mandates this committee and the forum and things to change. And we are doing a lot of things already here. And by no means are we perfect. We have to do more training. We just did procedural justice training. So, but we as a department are doing a lot of what the governor is already asking. So I think not that officers might feel that they're being attacked, but in one way they're feeling like, they are being attacked because these incidents that happen, unfortunately, are representing police departments as a whole. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that. There's, bad apples, yes, in every, occupation and things like that. So, and what happens is, families, and friends and they want to support their officers, and sometimes they get angry, and sometimes they feel like they're being attacked because it's their husband, wife, brother, sister, whoever it is, they're taking it personal. But throughout this training that we just did, was explained that, we have to, comply with the mandate, but a lot of the feedback that we've already received in that public comment, there were some negative comments that were made, and then there were some comments that were made about increased training, responding to mental health, which are already things that we've discussed, diversity, by all means. So I think that's going to be a lot of things that are going to come out as part of this committee's recommendation. So the department is open to that. But like you said, I think having a couple of blurbs on the website about, each person on the committee that might make them feel a little bit more comfortable, for sure.
And I would like
definitely not going to happen. And I won't agree to it, but it's not going to happen. It doesn't make sense at all. It's not the case in any other committee. We were chosen by submitting our resumes or by recommendation, and that was decided upon. It is none of the public's business who we are and whether we accurately represent them. That's not who we are.
Maybe we could have a little blurb at the top just about the selection process, just about how.
Like that either. Yeah. That leaves Jerry very vulnerable. I don't think.
No. I'm not saying the specifics of the selection process. I'm just saying just very straightforward, because I'm not saying, people should know that the way people were selected by, you could submit a resume and blah, blah, blah. But that part is pretty obvious to those of us who applied. But there may be people out there who for some reason weren't aware, may have applied, did not apply, whatnot, and just say, pursuant to information that went out, we asked community members to submit resumes. Those resumes were sorted through, and a certain number of village residents were selected, along with certain number of community representatives representing certain organizations, and leave it at that, but at least just kind of address it, just so that it's not you know, kind of an elephant
I
in the
think
room.
I think that's fair, Lauren. I mean, if I was on that call and I wasn't on committee and I wasn't aware of it in the beginning, I'd question what was going on, and because they're going to have to live with it too. So they have, I mean, they're not on a committee, but they're going to be impacted by it. I
Because
wasn't.
all of us know that we had to submit
Yeah.
a resume, right? But there, for whatever reason, there may be people who weren't made aware of that is all, you know.
But I think, you know, public call.
I'd like to suggest an alternative, at least to reassure the members of our police department. Chief, would your members be interested in doing a closed forum with us? Just open.
No, Brian, I don't.
Come on now.
I appreciate that. I don't even think it's necessary. I think that, and I don't want to have to give, you know, specifics out, but I think that everyone that's on this committee has a very diverse background. So I think even if it doesn't have to be specific to the person, but you know, we have one person who, an attorney, we have one person who does this, so that they can see that there are many different people with many different, you know, points in their background that would be beneficial to being on a committee.
I mean, part of my thought process is, you know, I know the members of our police department are very intelligent, and I know that better than any of us, they probably have ideas that could positively impact policing in this village. And quite frankly, what's something that's really important is, you know, their buy-in. If we come up with suggestions that they think are absurd or attacking them, then we're not going to get buy-in from them. It's just going to, you know, you can use the honey versus vinegar saying. I'd rather use honey to get buy-in, positive buy-in from our police department. And part of that is, you know, knowing what they think they need, you know, hearing from them what they think they need.
And I think that, you know, when we get the survey results and part of this public comment and we put everything together, I think ultimately what the things that we need to change are going to come out as part of that information. I am confident with that. And that, you know, officer, what change sometimes can be good. Nobody likes change sometimes, but change can be good. And we know that, you know, we want, you know, again, I, you know, said about training. We want more training. We love training. We like to hone in our skills and make ourselves better.
Personally, I think the buy-in comes after the fact too, though. I think we meet as our committee, we put together our recommendations, and then the buy-in happens. And if at that point, I mean, we can discuss that further, if we think it would be helpful for one or two representatives from the committee to make a presentation, to, you know, talk to the police, make a presentation to the police department, if anybody's comfortable with that or whatnot, that's something we can address later. But I think the buy-in happens later because we don't even know what we're recommending yet.
Even whatever we recommend goes to the Board of Trustees, so they could literally shut down whatever we say, and then there's nothing to talk about. So
right, so it happens
that point first.
Yeah.
And if I can just, you know, add to this, I guess, you know, the ones who were present at the public meeting, you know, I myself also felt, I was surprised with some comments, but I understand the process, and when you have an open mic, you can hear, you know, any sort of comments, positive, negative, neutral, you know, you name it. But I work for a nonprofit organization, and one thing that we do to improve our services, because we provide services to the community, is, you know, having surveys, having the community giving us their voice in order for us to implement best practices. It's part of the process. It's supposed to be something that we are, you know, looking at this positively, because it will help us improve as a whole, not just one group. And one thing that we say to the people who are going to be, you know, evaluated in the process is that take this objectively. This is nothing personal. It's for us to improve the way that we serve who we serve. So I guess it's sort of like, you know, I'm sad to hear that there is some people who have to be defensive in this process. We are not here to attack anybody, just to evaluate the process and recommend. You know, at the end of the day, it will be our own police department to take those recommendations or not. But please, you know, let's just focus on, you know, being positive in this conversation. This is tough. This is hard. We are hearing, you know, from other municipalities, villages, what they're going through. We are not unique in this process, but, you know, coming from that perspective, I know I heard community members who don't feel safe now even saying anything after that public hearing. And I have to go back there and say, no, it's fine, it's safe, you can do it. And I feel this forum right here, right now, it's safe for me to say what I want to say. I don't want to be defending a community. I don't want to be defending anybody. I think it's important to just be open here. And I agree with Theodora, that I don't want to just, have this feeling again of, trying to defend myself or just not even, saying anything. So let's just go back to, how we left this conversation last week and move forward, on a positive note.
Listen, every meeting we've had is public. From when we introduced who we were, is public.
Mm-hmm.
We all gave a bio of who we are. It's
Right.
public. We said who we work for, public. Okay? Enough, that nadering nabobs of negativism, that is what it's going to be either way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We're here to make recommendations to the board and they'll accept them. The idea, and just get it out, Brian, we understand you think the cops are great. We do too.
No, I never
Now,
said.
let's finish.
I
One second, because you say it every meeting, but it's a distraction from what we hear. Look at the screen. There's the chief and 2 officers behind her. They know what we're discussing. What are you talking about, a private meeting? Let's just deal with what we got to deal with.
No,
No, that's what it is. Come on now.
No,
Okay.
I'm not talking about like a.
All I'm saying is that we're talking about the meeting and you're talking about, I just want to throw it out there. We know it's going to be the loudest people on both sides will get their voices heard. That's not going to tell us who these guys are, men and women of the police department. The survey, our recommendations is all it is supposed to be about. Okay? Like Theodore said last time, we can't keep calling you a cheerleader if you're not going to own that name.
No, personally, I'm really offended by that.
No, you're not, but that's all right.
I am really offended by that because
the chief and her 2 officers at every meeting
lasting
we make recommendations as much as anyone else on this committee. We start out sometimes asking her, is there anything you want to add? Because she does her homework. Okay? Just call balls and strikes. That's all we're here to do. Make recommendations. That's
what I'm doing.
I don't think so.
And that's absolutely what I'm doing. I really, really, really am offended by being called just a cheerleader because nobody has even considered asking me what I think we should be doing. Everybody just.
Brian, what do you think? I really do want to know. I'm disturbed by how angry you often seem, and I really want to know what you think because you think about this stuff.
I really wish you knew me in real life outside of this because you would see that I'm really not an angry person at all, and I'm not even angry right now. I'm just offended that I'm being blanketly accused of being nothing more than a cheerleader. Like I'm not, like I have an agenda coming into this. No, my agenda coming into this is that we come out of this with a better police department and we come out of this with a better village. But constantly, since the very first meeting, since the very first time I introduced myself, you, Theodora, accused me of drawing lines. You did. It's on video. You accused me of drawing lines before you had even gotten to know me. You just heard my background and you accused me of drawing lines.
It wasn't just upon hearing your background, but I do recall.
Yeah, so, nobody's asked me how I feel about community policing. My boss was, one of my bosses was the 3-star chief in NYPD who championed community policing, who was in Brooklyn getting to know the Orthodox community better than anybody else. This is the perspective I bring in, that the police work better when they know the community. Everybody assumes that I'm just here to be a roadblock or an impediment, but I just, some of the ideas you've thrown out, I just don't see as being, as moving that objective closer to us. I think we're risking alienating an excellent police department. By all measures, the chief just gave out the complaint statistics. By all measures, that's impressive. We should be impressed by those numbers, that only 2 complaints have been filed and only one has been proven to be, and one was founded.
That's not disturbing to you? That's encouraging to you?
That's encouraging to me because I truly believe that if people had negative encounters, they would file complaints.
That is not true. That is not true. I'm sorry, Brian, to disagree, but that is not true.
I have video that people have sent me of negative encounters. I described a negative encounter I had around the corner from my house, which was so minor, but it wasn't appropriate.
So why didn't you file a complaint?
I said it to the chief on live TV instead. I didn't have to when she addressed it.
So I think that, you know, and to what Janet was saying about, you know, people, they don't feel comfortable. So I think obviously with this, you know, with the committee and part of transparency, that a lot of things are going to come out of this about how we can engage the community and make them feel more comfortable. And that's the whole point of this committee. So that's going to be part of a recommendation, and whatever, especially for Janet, you know, and working at the Community Resource Center, you know, any recommendations that she has, of course, we're going to help facilitate that, because we want to have the members, you know, respect us and trust us and be transparent with them. So that's the whole point of this committee.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Lieutenant. Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I really feel like the chief, I mean, if you weren't who you were, they would bring you from central casting because you're intelligent and you're articulate and you're a she. But, you know, you also are able to say the things, and I'm not sure that they're really, you know, 100% as true as you want them to be, but it's an openness to a path that involves training and other things. But, you know, Brian, there are going to have to be changes, and to productively move forward, I think it's important to try to, without insulting your friends or, you know, whatever that might mean, there are going to have to be changes in practices, in attitudes, in individual officers' behaviors. That's going to be how we're going to move into the future.
I think you liken it to any job, right? Like, you go in and you could be the best at your job. If you ask for your boss, you ask for feedback, and all they do is tell you, oh, you're great, you're fantastic, you're great. I personally, I don't know about the rest of you, but that's not helpful to me, right? Like, I always want to improve, and I think most police officers always want to improve. So just because you don't feel that you personally, or maybe the police officers or whoever they is, does not feel that there's egregious problems, doesn't mean that there aren't problems, right? And so there's always, we can always all improve, and we can only help people improve.
You basically just said nothing. You said just because there aren't egregious problems, there aren't.
No, I said because somebody may believe there's not egregious problems. No. I'm not saying that there aren't egregious problems, and I'm not saying that there are egregious problems. I'm just likening it to any job.
But what you just said there is basically like a nothing statement. No offense. Just because there aren't egregious problems doesn't mean there aren't problems. Just because someone thinks that. I think anyone who knows me in real life knows that I have no problem telling even a friend of mine that I think they're completely wrong. Sharon can speak to that.
But I'm not saying you personally. I'm saying anybody who does their job always views themselves as having room for improvement. And I'm just saying that it's not helpful to tell someone, I mean, it may be helpful to tell them you're doing a great job hand in hand with ideas for improvement. I'm not saying you totally disregard any great job that someone's doing. I'm just saying it's not helpful if all you say is you're doing a great job. So I just think that it's.
But I've never once suggested that. I mean, yes, I've made a point of saying that.
I'm not saying you personally suggested that. I'm just trying to liken this. I'm trying to provide an analogy as to why it would be helpful to not constantly just talk about the great job that's being done, and why it would be helpful to talk about things that we could address.
But you can't divorce your comments from how this conversation originated, which was basically just calling me nothing more than a cheerleader and saying that all I do is get on here and cheerlead for our police department.
She didn't do that.
No.
I'm going to jump in and change it a little bit, because I'm hearing some people say, well, we don't think there really are problems. Other people saying, we think there really are problems. We don't yet, beyond our own personal anecdotes or the anecdotes that other people have told us, have any way to assess whether and how serious the problems are. My own personal experience with the police has a period of 5 years when they drove me crazy, when a couple of them threatened me, and we're all talking about the period of a lawsuit. And I was in the press about that. Since then, I don't have any personal complaints with the police. Does that mean there aren't problems? No, it just means I don't have them. Sandra shows up at our meetings. There are other officers who come to our meetings at the SRC, and they're very open. But we need to look beyond that to try to figure out some kind of objective measures that can tell us whether or not these complaints are real, if they exist. Some of that may come out of the survey. The only thing that I've gotten so far that I really found, the only thing that I found really troubling was Jerry sent us a table called fingerprintable arrest records. I'm not quite sure what that was, but what it showed was that over the last few years, the arrests of people of Hispanic descent were double their proportion of the village population.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that is easily explicable. Maybe it isn't, but it set up alarm bells in my head. I think we need to try to figure out a way to get at those rather than screaming at each other from our personal opinions.
Would it be possible to see, or would it be possible to put together the court dispositions? Like, you know, what percentage of cases which are brought before a judge in the village are found or convicted or dismissed? Because I think that answers your question. You know, if we have a 100% conviction rate, then I think that's telling it. If we have a 30% conviction rate, then, you know, if we're putting,
I'm going to say why I find this the statistic, and again, I'm saying that statistic has to be interpreted to me. All of it is a raw bit of data. It may be applicable.
What I'm
wait
saying,
a minute.
if we're putting 100, you know, 100 Irish people before a judge in the village of Mamaroneck, and only 20 are getting convicted, then, you know, maybe, yeah, that's a sign that maybe we're targeting a specific population more than another.
Like I said, we can speculate on how to explain that. Studies around the country, and I think Janet can back me up, others can back me up on this, show, for example, that immigrants tend to be one of the demographics with the lowest crime rate, the lowest felony numbers.
That's a fact.
Pardon?
That's a fact. That's, you know, you can go beyond a statistic on that. That's a fact.
It may or may not be a fact. All I know is that studies repeatedly come to that conclusion.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
A relatively high. So then we come up and find they're being arrested more often. I'm not saying that says that we have a major problem. I'm saying I would like our group to look at some of this data, if we can get a hold of it, and try to understand it.
So John, just to let you know, we have to work within some of the parameters of our records management system, but we've already made some changes to try to capture resident versus non-resident. And we are going to try to drill down with some of that arrest data to see maybe what the top offenses were, to see if there's any kind of issues that we can address on that end. So we are working with trying to figure that information out.
That, I would love to have that. And
perfect. And we're working on it.
There is other literature that says that it is related to where the police are assigned to do policing.
Well, it would also be helpful if you could also look in on how many of those arrests were the police called.
So that's another thing we're looking to capture is, calls for service versus officer generated. So we're looking to drill down to that information too. It's just, sometimes you have limitations on our records management system. So we have to work within the confines of that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And how do you keep records of summonses written? Are they electronically stored or is it still on paper?
So for the most part, it's in New York State has what's called a track system. So they're done electronically through the computer.
Like e-courts or something.
That's on the court side, but it's a New York State program. So all officers in New York State use this program called track.
And do you break down statistics of summonses issued?
We can figure out some information from that in terms of summons, the actual specific violations and things of that nature, yes.
And the location, right?
Yes, correct.
That's good. All right.
All that is why I'm saying this is something that needs to be explored. It isn't yet something on which to act and draw firm conclusions, but it could be troubling.
So we'll do our best to try to get some more information for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I have another question. Sorry. Every time I ask a question, I feel like I start a domino effect. I think I misunderstood the time frame. I know I misunderstood the time frame when I looked at everything, and I thought we had till March to get things done. And then I looked at Jerry's email. It said something like January because we have to start presenting to the Board of Trustees. So we have like what, 2 meetings left after this?
We have 2 meetings. We have a meeting on the 5th and on the 14th
of January.
And the Board of Trustees, I will add the police reform and reinvention plan to every work session after and including January 25th.
So, yeah, so I didn't understand that. And I thought we had an extra like 2 months, which I thought was short to have all these conversations where we obviously have varying points of view. And we can clearly talk for a long time, which is good, but it's not helpful in the short term of 1 month. So I just wanted to know if you could kind of, I don't know, get us set for what we have to accomplish in the next couple of meetings so we could stay focused and actually have good recommendations.
So can I just clarify? Oh, did you just say that we have to have our recommendations done in 2 more meetings? We don't get the extra 2 months?
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, okay.
So what will happen is the committee will not disband. The committee will not be disbanded, but the Board of Trustees has to take up this conversation on January 25th. That doesn't mean that there won't be some members of this committee that can still add to that conversation, because obviously, you know, in work sessions, we don't allow the public or anyone else really to interact with the Board of Trustees. It's a work session. They work for 2 hours and then they basically just try to hammer stuff out. On the 25th, and then a couple meetings in February and 1 meeting in March, potentially 2nd meeting in March, they will be working on the recommendations that this board puts together. So we have 2 meetings. We have 1 month from Christmas, or 1 month from a few days before Christmas, to develop a set of recommendations for the Board of Trustees so that they can start looking at those recommendations and see what they want to include in the plan that they're submitting to the state, which is why the mayor has written a letter asking for an extension, Scott. And if we get the extension, we're great, we're golden. If not, we've got 2 meetings and basically, 34 days, 35 days. That's it.
And I bring that up because not only did I misunderstand it, but I thought 3 months was short. Now 1 month feels like nothing, so as great as a lot of these conversations are, we're going to have to get really focused if we want any of our recommendations to be of substance in 34 days.
So I'm glad that I have volunteers for committees. I did ask for committees a few meetings ago, but really a few meetings ago was only last week or the week before. So the committee that's drafting the recommendations really has, to start putting some items on paper. That's it. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be, in a PowerPoint. It just basically has to be a set of recommendations that this committee agrees to, that wants to send it to the Board of Trustees. That's what we're looking at right now.
I think at the very least, we need to narrow down the areas in which recommendations may be made, right? So just throwing this out there, and obviously we can adjust, but, for example, maybe policing tactics of some sort, something about training, and then something about adjudication on the tail end with regard to, you know, Theodora's recommendation with civilian participation in some kind of review board, because I think that kind of covers like the pre-incident thing with training, and then there's the in the moment type of thing for actual policing tactics, and then there's the tail end of it. Now, obviously, we can always add to that or take anything away, but I think we have to probably at least narrow down into some sub-subjects there.
Let me provide, I do have, so this document that I'm putting on the screen was shared with the Board of Trustees before I put this committee together. They approved it. They said, please move ahead with it. So because it was their plan, I needed their buy-in early on what we were. So we have, Lauren, 16 items that they considered important. It was 15, they added one. So let me put that on here.
Can you resend that, Jerry?
Yeah, I'll resend it. It's the police reform timeline.
6 individual items, right?
16.
Right, sorry, that's right, sorry. 16 individual
16.
items, but what I'm saying is that we could probably lump some of those into.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but these were the items that they were, that they agreed was some should be potentially the final version, or a group of these items should be in the final version of the plan that they sent to the governor's.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so I'll
please do
resend
that.
this separately.
So
Yeah.
if we could maybe on the next, I don't know if this makes sense, and I won't be offended if you think I'm all crazy, but maybe in the next meeting, we could break this down into, say, 3 or 4 or 5 groups and split it up the way we're doing this other committee work, because having everybody in every conversation with 2 work meetings, we're not going to accomplish anything. So maybe we can consider grouping them and then splitting the group up to tackle them and come back to the big group for a shorter conversation after we have that survey results and whatnot. Because maybe it's just me, but I get very nervous knowing we have 2 meetings left, because I joined this, you know, with the intent to do really good work. And it feels like we're speeding through it because we have this imposed deadline.
Would it be possible to do that now? Because I think it may be helpful. Yeah. And I think we could maybe do that and then take a look at this list of 16 items and kind of subcategorize them. I'm just trying to be efficient is all.
Yeah.
But.
And with the holidays coming up, I know I have extra time now that I won't have in the first 3 weeks of January when everything starts up again. So it's helpful for me to know ahead of time.
That list of items, that's the guidelines that we should go through to make the recommendations?
Yeah, so this was
based on what the Board of Trustees.
As far as the time.
Our Board of Trustees?
Yes.
Yeah, our Board of
Trustees.
Trustees.
This isn't the state. This is yeah.
It's this right here. So these were the items. This was number 4 was added. Quality of life improvements was added by a trustee. Everything else, the way I put it together, was approved by them with just this one addition. So the plan is the plan. The timeline was spelled out. So Lauren, you're saying to try to lump some of these together. So
if we could into 3 or 4 categories,
yeah.
I think we'd have to agree on what those categories are first, and then we can go through them line by line and say which category it belongs in, and then we can probably make the committees.
So let's take a stab at categories and take a couple of recommendations.
Someone explain number 12 to me.
Trees. I'm just kidding. Plant more trees.
So number 12.
No, it was just a joke. Yeah.
No, well, crime prevention through environmental design. So basically what that is, and it has a lot of moving parts, but basically an officer or somebody who's qualified would go with a couple of different representatives from different parts of the village, Department of Public Works, the manager's office, and they would go to a location. Usually it's businesses, but it can be residents as well. And they look to see what ways can they deter crime. So for example, creating boundaries with bushes or fences, cutting back of bushes so there's more visibility, adding surveillance cameras, adding lighting. So those things help deter crime. That's what that program is.
And stuff like that.
Like the cameras over the mural.
Just like that.
I would think that would be very specific to certain areas. Like my only concern with that one was I would think it would, like you said, I mean, it'd be very different depending on what you're looking
at. Well, ideally, right, you may want to
a way to implement it
where the high incidences of crimes potentially occur, right?
Either that or maybe give suggestions on a way to implement it.
So where that originates from was a study done it was a study done on housing projects, and they implemented exterior lighting and some other environmental changes like pricker bushes and area denial things like fences and stuff like that. And they found that it had a reductive quality or a reductive impact on the level of crime in the area. Mm-hmm. Basically, the way to think about it is if you can be seen, you're less likely to commit a crime there.
So let me throw the first category out if I could, training.
Mm-hmm.
Something that keeps coming up over and over again, improve training.
Yeah, I agree with that category.
Obviously, number 8 would be in that. Number 6.
Yeah, 8, 6.
One maybe.
What about 1 with the accreditation? Because as they make changes, they have to accredit. Okay.
Yep.
Number 3 also.
Community interaction.
Number 3 on training.
I don't know if that would be training, because that might have to do with the way they're going to police. As I don't know if that makes sense.
Right. So here's for example. So 1 and 2 would go together because you're talking about accreditation and then model policies, which are used to become accredited. So 1 and 2 would go together. When you're talking about training, 6, 7, and 8 would go together.
Okay.
And then 6, 7, and 8. Chief, you want to make accreditation a category, and then the sub is the program and the model policies, right?
Right. So so 1 and 2 basically go together.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 6, 7, 8.
No, I think 1 and 2 are their own.
Yeah, 1 and 2 is separate.
But do you think that a committee that's looking at training would maybe be the right place for them to also consider a credit? I mean, because I think some of these points could probably go into more than one category.
Sure.
If we had a committee on policies, then I would say 1 and 2 would go into a committee on policies.
That makes sense. Why don't we do the easy ones? Like basically that seems good. Let's do the easy ones and then see if that stays by themselves or needs more to be with it or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like it seems to me there's a kind of, and particularly because it's the village, there's community-based policing, there's cultural sensitivity, all the topics around that area. So it would seem to me it would be 3, it might be 4, it would be 5.
9.
I didn't read that fast.
Me.
I don't know if 9 is part of that. Actually, I don't even know what that is yet.
So law enforcement assisted diversion program. So Sergeant Ballantyne has indicated that is part of a program where in lieu of incarceration, they have programs for rehabilitation.
No, so you're talking about diversion, ATIs,
Yes.
alternatives to incarceration.
Yes.
3.
And that usually would happen through the DA rather than the police, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't
Yes.
that more of a judicial process?
It is.
Our ADA is available. She's on a lot of committees, so she
Yeah.
this evening, but she's available if we need to email her. So if anyone has a question for our ADA at the county, just let me know.
And would that go with procedural justice?
I don't know. That would
In
be
the same kind of category?
I think it could. I
Could.
question. I mean, obviously, this is coming to us from the Board of Trustees, so I don't want to remove anything. But I personally would question that bullet point just because I think it has more to do with the after the fact process for the either convicted individual or
what,
not
it's part
necessarily
of
specific to
overall criminal justice reform at the state
Yeah.
level. It really doesn't have to do
Yeah.
with day-to-day policing, I think.
So we may not have any recommendations for that one.
Yeah, but we can certainly. We probably put it in there with the procedural group, and if whoever's in that group addresses it, then
Okay.
okay. We haven't addressed 10 through 16 yet. Everything else we've kind of categorized.
All right.
Yeah, so this would be
leave it
the-
on the side.
Well, they all seem to go together in a way.
Everyone
Both the force
from 10 to
prevention.
16?
Yeah.
Yeah.
well,
And
I mean, I think if we're grouping them, they kind of have similarities that
prevention,
I
violence.
think the crime prevention goes with the community policing aspect or the
Mhm.
I think 11, 12, and 13 are definitely grouped together.
Is
Yeah.
deterrence of crime or deterrence of police brutality? I say with a straight face.
Which
Deterrence effectiveness, number 11?
Deterrence
Yeah,
effectiveness.
11.
Yeah, what is that?
I think that's crime prevention.
Yeah,
I think
it would
so.
be. Yeah.
Programs in place to prevent and deter, yeah.
Well, let's distinguish between programs in place that are crime fighting and programs in place that are community improving and, just community police improving.
I think that's fair.
So under crime fighting, when we talk about quality of life improvements, are we talking about law enforcement or are we talking about?
I think that's appropriately like characterized as by like broken windows.
Oh, that's a big failure. We shouldn't do that.
Well,
No, but Theodora,
Quality of life.
it's not adding a swing set to a community, to a park in a community that doesn't have one. It's that kind of stuff. So
it's like,
So I mean, we
police
have
related.
officers that, address quality of life infractions like,
intoxication and
in public intoxication, urinating in public.
Oh, see, I think of quality of life improvements as the police should stop harassing people for hanging out in this little park. That would be improving those people's quality of life, as opposed to the police are improving rich white people's quality of life by giving tickets and arresting poor Hispanic people?
Or anyone else who's not
unsightly
urination.
yeah, it's public intoxication, public lewdness.
Those are two completely unrelated things. Public lewdness is a sexual act and public intoxication is just drinking.
No, but those are quality of life crimes in a neighborhood. If those crimes are being committed in a neighborhood, the quality of life in that neighborhood is going to deteriorate.
It depends on the neighborhood. What we understand about this sort of policing, which we call broken windows policing, is that it incredibly unfairly targets poor and people of color. And those people then end up spiraling through law enforcement and even jail in a way that is totally unnecessary when they are mistargeted and when things that could be diverted in a way that does not involve requires law enforcement.
So this was added.
Bad.
Let me explain the impetus.
Jerry, may I say something?
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a group of people over the weekend. They thought that quality of life will be like a complaint about lift door, that they call the police and nobody shows up. Or just like Theo was saying, the white people problems.
Yeah, Theodora, this is outside my front door quality of life issues. That's the impetus.
Right. I have a problem. People are setting off firecrackers outside my back door. My kids were babies. It used to wake them up all the time. That's a quality of life problem, right?
That is.
Yeah, but the police never responded.
Yeah, well, that's
not what we're getting into. We just need to separate these into areas that we can then tackle in future meetings.
I'm just saying it's race-based policing and we should be moving away from it, not towards it.
Right, but that's the next conversation. We need to just separate these into groups so that we can allocate committees to deal with them.
All right, but I don't think that we need to be quite so Pollyannish. Let's face it. Jerry came up with this list. The board said, sure, they added something. We can go to the board and say, yeah, we decided that we don't think that this is a great one and we have another way to frame that same issue. And I think the board would say, oh, thank you for explaining. That makes sense.
But Theodora, to your point,
it's our list.
But Theodora, to your point that you don't like this tactic, wouldn't that be a way to address that tactic then, to discuss it within this committee or whatever and say, this is not a tactic we should be moving forward with, right? So we're giving a recommendation on that tactic.
Doubting the virtues of broken windows policing right now. We're just describing what these categories are.
And putting them into a grouping so that committees can tackle them.
And making a decision on them, whether they're good or bad.
So Theodora's right.
It's arbitrary.
But Theodora's right. This is a list I came up with. The one item that the trustees wanted to add, one trustee wanted to add was number 4.
Okay. But
If
once
that
we
doesn't
have
get
these-
addressed, if that doesn't get addressed, there may be an impression that this committee didn't address some of the things.
Do you have any insight as to they give any reason as to why they wanted to include it, or they just say
Front
please do
door.
this?
So Lauren, it's front door. Looking out my front door, looking out my front window. I see certain things. I wish the police or someone would take care of those items. They're disrupting my quality of life because I'm a nosy body and I look out my front door all the time.
So, but really, we need to categorize these. It's 7 o'clock now, right? And we're going to what, 7:15?
Yeah.
So I think if you put 14, 15, and 16 with 1 and 2, it talks about policies and guidelines. I think that would work. So that would be your 4
16
groups.
doesn't go under that, though. I think 16 is separate because 16 is not sort of formalistic in that way. I think 16 involves our specific delineation of practices that are and are not permissible.
So we do have, again, a policy for that, and there are New York State mandated policies, and part of achieving accreditation is having a policy put in place. That's why I suggested it would go to there.
Okay, so you're saying 1 and 2, and then 13, 14, 15,
Not
and
13,
16?
just 14, 15, 16.
So where would 10
Okay.
go? That's the only one I can't find that we assigned to a category.
That would be the procedural aspect.
Well, that has a lot.
Dealing with complaints, the complaints processes and procedures for reprimand, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that goes with 7.
I think it does too.
Yep.
Does it go with 5 and 4? Maybe it goes, I mean, with 3, does it go with 3 and 5 and 7 and 10?
Jerry, did you write these down in groupings?
Nope.
Did anybody write these down in groupings? Because I'm getting confused by my list. I have them, but
Oh no, right now, yeah, I am.
Yeah. Can you
Talking
read-
about when I created it. Oh, yeah.
No,
Oh, yeah.
can you read what you have so we can see
Yeah.
what's being missed?
Okay, I'll do that, absolutely.
Thank
So
you.
I have grouped 6, 7, and 8. I have also grouped.
How
1,
about, sorry, go ahead.
So, but
Did
you
we
can
title
do
the
that.
group
I have
yet,
grouped
or are we just
1,
grouping
2,
No, it's just
14, 15, 16.
Okay.
Those 5 are grouped. 1, 2, 14, 15, 16. I have grouped 3, 4, 5, and 9. I have 11, 12, 13 grouped. And then I have this other group that we just created, which was 7, 10, 3, and 5.
Which
Jerry,
completely overlaps, right?
Yeah, there's overlap.
16
It
to,
can be overlap though.
I think we should add 16 to 6, 7, and 8.
16 is right now police policy accreditation. So where do you want it?
I think personally, coming from my background, I think that belongs in with 6, 7, and 8.
So like training.
Yeah.
Well, I think it can be seen in 2 different ways, though. So if you put it under training, you can address it from a training perspective. And then if we also put it in a group that's the second group, 14, 15, 16, 1 and 2, it's more of a policy.
Yeah, I think you can put it in more
So
than
it can
one
be in
group.
more than one group.
Right, but it sounds like the chief feels that
But
it
I
should
agree.
go with the
Sorry.
training and that there are standards already and that they're already following them and there are initiatives that they're engaging with. So that seems to me it should go properly with where the chief says it should go.
And I can try to, follow up and put some bullet points next to each one to say, if we're currently doing something, what have we done? What are we planning on doing? So maybe that will help.
That would be helpful, yeah.
That'd be very helpful.
Thank you.
So
Two
we have
meet-
5 group-
We have 2 meetings to get this done.
Yeah, so we have 5 groupings. So that would be
5
Is there a reason we couldn't, not that I want to, but is there a reason we couldn't put a 3rd meeting in between the 1st and 2nd if time is getting crunched?
Yeah, I don't want to, but I think the more meetings we have, the better. I hate to say that.
I'm not looking to throw meetings. That's I don't do that at work. I'm not trying to give people more homework. I'm looking at this, and as we're having conversation, it's I don't know.
Or we break this up into Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Dee.
this,
I was going to say, but what we can present to the Board of Trustees with the understanding that they're going to discuss it and maybe send it back to us or give them an interim update, right?
That's not out of the realm of possibility. Absolutely. Sure. Of course.
And then the other unrelated question is we had said something in public last week about having another public forum, and are we intending to do that?
We did that in the beginning of the meeting.
January 7 o'clock.
I didn't have the link. 177, okay.
1/7 at 7. I'm going to send around these groupings. I may or may not have category headings if we're finalized.
I think we should make the category headings so that we can make the subcommittees now. So that should subcommittees begin
Give
to.
me, so my category heading for 8, 6, 7, 8, 16 is training. Is that
Yep.
appropriate?
Yep.
That's what I have to.
Okay. My category heading for 1, 2, 14, 15, 16 is policy/accreditation.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yep.
My category heading, I don't have one for 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 9. I don't have one yet.
Well, that's more of a community program, right?
Yep, so
Okay.
community relations or something.
Just community, and that way it's easy.
Yep.
We don't,
Community's good. 11, 12, 13 is, I have crime prevention, but I don't know if you want to use that.
it's close enough, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. No need in overcomplicating it.
The subcommittee can always change it later. Let them fight it out.
And then the last group I don't have.
And it's probably good that they overlap because people will be thinking about the same problems, but in different contexts.
Yeah.
So then the last group that I have is, and I don't have a category for this, is 7, 10, 3, 5.
Community interaction.
7,
7, 10,
10,
3.
3, and 5.
I don't know how 3 fits in
Right.
there.
I went back to kindergarten math on that. Like, wait, how do these go together?
That leans towards what we were talking about of having a citizen review type
Right,
feel to
but
it.
isn't that,
Civilian oversight.
Call it that, citizen
Why-
oversight or something.
but why isn't that part of community policing?
They're different things.
Yeah.
Because I think one's meant to be like tactics in the moment or the process, whatever they're using while the police are out there. The other one is meant to be on the tail end. Should a complaint
Yeah,
be
the
submitted,
review
this is how
process
it should be reviewed.
But that's just a standalone number 10, right?
No,
I have, Theodore, I have 3, 5, 7, 10 grouped together. I don't know why.
but it's the different lens, I
Five,
think. It's just, some of them are
7,
complicated to look at it from a different perspective.
and
One
10.
might be what the police officers are doing in the moment or what they should be doing, like community policing. The other one is when that goes wrong or it's perceived to have gone wrong, what's the review on the end to do
Right.
it? So they might be the same number, but
I
not
think
the
that
same
those
lens.
all go together. Those seem like, I mean, it seems like they all go together.
So that means 5 subgroups. And if we look at the resident members, there's
I mean,
10 of us.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I would think the most efficient way, because we already have the other subcommittee and our regular meetings, would be 2 people each, plus whoever from the village and community resources is going to jump in. Does that make sense?
Say that part again because I lost half of it.
I don't
Oh,
know.
sorry. There are 5 categories.
Yep.
There are 10, what you have listed as resident members or something like that.
Yeah.
If 2 of us each took a category and then members from the other groups, whether it's police or you or, HR or whatever, they can jump in as well. But at least if 2 of us each get together to tackle these, we'll come up with something and it won't be a whole group fighting about it.
I agree.
Okay. When you say tackle, do research, have a discussion, have an email discussion.
Yes, do all the offsite, over the next 2 or 3 weeks, whoever those 2 people are, you manage your time, you do your research, we get survey results, we apply it to what we're doing, and we come back with some sort of recommendations that can be discussed with the bigger group, but it's already kind of put together into something that makes sense.
And I think we should allocate a certain amount of time per group. Obviously, we can be a little fluid with that, but I just want to make sure that we get to each group, right? So we should make sure that.
Right, yes. Like
So the
15-minute, like 10-minute presentation.
Yeah,
10
and
minute
then we can
chat.
have conversation, right?
Something like
I just
that,
want to
yeah.
make sure that everybody,
On the 4th, Lauren, you're saying on
Yes.
the 4th.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll do my best to try to get something out as soon as possible with, again, some like bullet points or descriptions.
I appreciate that.
Does that mean we have a deadline of getting the survey back and?
Yeah,
July 4th?
Yeah, the survey, I have to have the survey by Friday.
Mhm.
Survey will be returned on the 4th. The 5th is our next meeting, John.
Okay.
We'll have 10 minutes for each group.
Distributed and answered during the Christmas break. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, not everyone celebrates Christmas, so.
And I don't see
That's true.
doing a lot of things.
Everybody celebrates going out of
There are lots of
survey.
days off from lots of jobs too. So hopefully, you know, if we can push this out the right way, which I guess we'll discuss in our subcommittee, all the different avenues that we feel.
I just wanted, yeah, we'll have to, that's what we have to discuss. I just wanted to
So
know.
we'll do that tomorrow at
Deadline
7:30.
was important.
And we'll do it tomorrow at 7:30 and Janet's sending the Zoom. I got it.
Okay, so one last item, because civilian oversight is
discussing the
35710.
Yes.
Okay, I got it then. Thanks.
All right. So can we assign people tonight so that we can start working on this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so quick. I can't help it
No, I
sometimes.
agree. I'm with you.
I just need to nail stuff down so I know what to do.
We have to have PD. We have to have PD for the training, representation for training and policy accreditation, because none of us know really what we're talking about. So, Chief.
Don't we kind of need PD though for everything?
Yeah, but I think if we put them on everything.
Well, not the same person. I mean, it doesn't have to always be the chief. I mean, but
Right.
okay.
So I think Sergeant Ballantyne is here with me tonight, and he is in charge of training for our department. He's working on accreditation, so he could probably be assigned to both of those.
Okay. I got him.
And like, is there somebody who, I don't know enough about the police department, I'm sorry. Is there somebody who is more informed about community policing or the way you interact with the police? With the community?
Yep. So, I mean, I can participate in that one. That's fine.
Sandra?
Janet?
I'm sorry.
Janet on
What?
community.
I was wondering whether you thought that you might be able to play a productive role with community policing.
Yeah. I was choosing that one. I'm just setting up the Zoom link for tomorrow's meeting.
Attention, yeah, it is still.
Okay, yes, community policing, please.
Okay, so who else wants to jump on with Sergeant Ballantyne on training and policy accreditation?
I would.
Be on training.
Say your names.
I need the names.
Jarrett and Brian.
Jarrett, you're on training. Who is the other training?
Brian.
Brian, okay. Policy accreditation, Mike, can you jump onto this one?
Sure.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Lauren, you want to do policy or you want to do something else?
I'd like to do the civilian oversight one.
Actually, so would I.
Like the.
I'd like to do the citizen review or whatever you're calling it. The last
civilian oversight. I'm calling it civilian oversight. So I got Lauren and Sharon already. Who else wants to do civilian oversight?
Well, we still have crime prevention, community, and police policy and accreditation.
I will do crime prevention. I'll jump on crime prevention as a.
I want to do crime prevention. That's Theo.
And Theo, I know you have a lot of thoughts on the civilian oversight aspect too, so feel free to shoot us an email or whatever, because I know you have a lot to say on that subject and we'd value
No, I really don't. I know there's a lot of literature out there, and there are things that work and things that don't work, and we have to find something that works with our department. And
Yep, agreed.
This is, I think, above all, the area where imposing as a committee on the department from outside without buy-in, and I don't even know whether the chief has the fluidity for buy-in or the other officer. It's political. I don't know how it works, and I think it's really delicate. But I also don't think that complaints against police officers work, and I don't think the community develops confidence in their police if there is not a civilian receipt of complaints and a civilian assist in adjudication of
And I
complaints.
think that plays into why there were only 2 complaints. I'm not saying that there were like, there should have been like 100, but I think some people just feel like, what, why bother, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, without going too far down that path, I agree. But I think a lot's going to depend on the recommendations or, what we decide, because there may be buy-in depending on what is put forth. So we'll see.
Can I ask my HR director to jump onto policy and accreditation?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, Jerry,
John?
community oversight one, Detective Sergeant Gadd is going to participate on that one.
Community oversight 3459, Chief, that's the one?
No, the other one, that's 71035.
Okay, so I'll put Mark there. Okay.
7, 10.
John, I need one for you.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
What was the 4579? That was
community policing. Come with
Community-
me, John.
we shouldn't be on the same one, but that's the one that most interests me.
Why can't you be on the same one?
I don't think it's a problem that you're on the same.
I think that's helpful.
He's joking, of course, right, John?
He's joking.
I
Yeah.
never joke.
Yeah.
So who's on crime prevention?
So I have Theo and Jerry right now.
I'm interested.
Jerry.
I studied at John Jay.
Brian, you have, so I need another, I'm missing a committee member. You know why I'm missing? Because I can't see your faces. And then
There you
I have
go.
the mayor on one.
There we
He's
go.
gonna be thrilled.
Welcome back.
Scott?
Yes.
Danielle, would you like to work on policing with us?
She's on policy and accreditation.
She's on policy because she's already tried to.
professionally trained for that. Yeah.
Scott?
And
are
that's
you
why I
willing-
don't want to do it, is because I do it at work all day.
Are you willing to come on to
Where's
crime
HR
prevention?
Sharon, where are you?
Huh?
What are the options that are open?
So I got, I need a spot, I need someone, a third for crime prevention. And then I have, I think the mayor, I have to add him to one, but you know how that goes. And,
No?
let me see what-
Actually, I'm on
Pick up.
vacation the next 2 weeks, so I can jump on community policing too. Because I have time.
I
Yeah,
have,
that's
Only
good.
for 2 weeks.
Welcome.
You should
Yes.
never-
Well,
I'd like
those
to try to
community-
loop in Reverend Taylor on one of these. I'm gonna ask him to jump on Theo and I.
Okay,
Crime
great.
prevention.
Yeah.
All right, who's not on one?
Scott, so Scott, I have,
Yep.
I can add a fourth to training, policy accreditation, community, and crime prevention. Civilian oversight already has, oh no, they only have 3. So either one of those. Which one would you like?
Just pick one.
I could do training.
Okay. So Scott. And then village attorney, I'm not going to assign him one. The mayor, I'm going to let him pick whichever one he wants. I have Janet, Theo, Scott. Elsa, I forgot about you. You need to jump on one.
She's so quiet.
So I forgot about it.
You're off mute. Elsa, you're on mute.
Elsa, there's training. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Training's out because it has 4. Policy accreditation, community, crime prevention, or civilian oversight. Those items have only
Civilian oversight.
civilian oversight.
Yes.
Wait, Elsa?
Yes.
I think maybe crime prevention, that, to have somebody, first of all, who's a Spanish speaker, and to kind of be able to maybe explain things about the community that I might not otherwise know, that not everyone understands, could be very helpful. Would you be willing?
Well, is the Janet in there?
No, Janet,
No.
all the touchy-feely stuff.
Yeah, so crime prevention, Elsa, crime prevention would be Theo, me, Reverend Taylor, and yourself.
But you have to wear a Superman
Okay.
jumpsuit.
You okay with that? Good. I have everybody.
All All right, so what is our agenda for the next meeting? The survey results and then these community updates?
Correct. So it's 10 minutes for each category with this little group here. And then the survey results will be on the January 5th meeting will be the agenda.
Okay.
And when will they appear? At that meeting?
No, the day before. So I'll send them to you that evening. I'll send you the survey results that evening, the Survey Monkey results, and then I will send the committee the paper copies of the other surveys, the surveys that we collect on paper. I'll send those to the entire committee. It'll be one big scan so you can look at them.
So Jerry,
one of them will be individual. Yeah.
When I do Survey Monkey at my job and we have people who either don't have access to a computer or are not comfortable with that, we type it in for them. That way the data will get compiled, like the pluses and minuses. So I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I'm willing to volunteer to sit there and type them in so that you don't have to send a whole scan, because you get 100 pieces of paper and then we have to look through all those pieces of paper, as opposed to dumping it into Survey Monkey and letting it do what it has to do with the calculations.
Yeah, so if you want, what I'll do is I'll send the scan, Sharon, to everybody so that they can read it themselves. And then if you want to volunteer to add it into the Survey Monkey and then
not January 4th. I mean, if you send them to me over Christmas.
After that. It'll be after.
Yeah. I'm happy to, because that'll just make the numbers more accurate when you run the data on is it a 1 or a 5? It'll, because it might be skewed if you're non-English speak. Well, I'm not going to do the non-English speaking, by the way. But it might be skewed towards certain groups if a lot of people in the same group write it, as opposed to.
I have a staff person who can do the non-English speaking.
Yes, I'll take the English and I'll knock them out. Okay.
I think you'll be surprised when you see how many there are. It's not.
No, I'm sure there's going to be a lot. That's why I'm saying. No, but it'll be better to have it in Survey Monkey than to have
I'm just saying I don't think there's going to be a lot. And
all right, well, so double my pay, Thea. But just pay me twice as much as you're paying me now. It's good.
You can do it at Christmas, double time, double every time.
Yeah, exactly. I get holiday pay.
So.
All right.
Okay.
Did we cross this milestone, guys?
I think so.
Can you tell me every group one time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we can all
go through the list.
Training is Sergeant Ballantyne, Scott, Jarrett, and Brian. Policy accreditation, I have Sergeant Ballantyne, Mike Anderson, and Danielle. Community is the chief, John, and Janet.
And Sharon.
And Sharon, yeah.
Sharon.
Then people are doing the survey.
Crime prevention is Theodora, Jerry, Reverend Taylor, and Elsa. And civilian oversight, I have Lauren, Detective Sergeant Gada, and Sharon.
Okay. And then do we have an email list or a cell phone list or something so that we can each create our subcommittees?
So,
yeah, because there's officers now on some of these committees, so we have to be able to reach out to them to schedule a time.
I know we have the PRRC group, but I need to.
Right.
We need to connect with each other.
Right. So double click on the PRRC in the Outlook, and you'll see.
It'll just open up.
Email. Yeah, it'll open up, and then ask the chief to provide the detective sergeant and the sergeant's preferred contact.
Perfect. Good. Sounds good.
Thank you very much, everybody. I gotta go.
I have one question for Jerry. You said that you have spoken with the 2 superintendents about cooperating with the survey?
Yes, and one of them responded, and I sent that email while we're in session here.
To us?
Yep.
Okay, because we will have to get a hold of them and try to figure out how to do this in an impossibly short time frame.
Yeah.
Which normally people think of as break.
If you need to, Chief DeRuza and I can get Dr. Shaps a little bit quicker than other people. So just let us know if we need to reach out to Dr. Shaps. But
and how do we follow up with our subcommittee?
Huh?
How do we follow up with our subcommittee?
Email.
Okay.
I'll separate all out. Scott, tomorrow I'll give everyone their numbers, their item numbers, their category, and then who's on it, and then you guys can reach out to each other.
All right.
Jerry, one last thing.
Yeah.
You have an opening on that oversight? You got 3 people?
I have 3. You want to go?
Let me jump on that, please, because I think
come on over.
Lauren, Detective Sergeant
Come on
Gatto,
in.
Sharon. Jarrett, you're on training and civilian oversight.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like
Thank
we
you,
have
group.
a good amount.
Now, do you
Thank
think
you.
we'll be able to get this done as quickly as Congress will be able to approve? the-
Oh, wow.
It's like,
Okay, John.
Everything moves faster than Congress. Come on.
We'll get it
that's
done.
true.
We'll get it.
Yes. Okay,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Chair, good
Everyone.
night.